Hello, it is November 10th, 2023. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin here. What I said on Monday is that we were still stuck in this wave 4 choppiness, either chopping sideways or pullback is what we were looking for. It obviously chose that sideways path. I said I'm going to expect further sideways chop or maybe a final sharp drop before we can push up into the high 30s. So it did continue sideways for another day or so, and then it did start taking off a little bit sooner than expected, but we are now in that high 30K range that I was looking for. So this does still rely on a diagonal within a diagonal. Plenty of chances for the failure here, in the macro picture. So I'm just talking about micro here. But continuing to give the bulls the benefit of the doubt until they give me a reason to doubt them even more. All right. So let's take a look at what happened. Monday was right around here. So we chopped sideways a little bit, for another couple days in that range, and then finally started taking off into the high 30s. So we have a couple things to consider here. First thing to consider, I said that oftentimes the wave 5 will match just about the amplitude of wave 1, so we can double check that. We're right around that area, depending on where you say wave 4 ended. We're very near to that kind of 38, 39K, mid 38K region. So it is quite possible that wave 5 is finished without touching the top of the channel, right? It's possible that it continues upwards. That is a possibility as well. I mean, this could continue upwards and we might get a hit on the top of the channel. That would be more in the lower 40Ks. Either one of those things is a possibility. Let me get rid of that little micro fib there. We did tap the red box. This is getting into the danger zone for this bear scenario, macro wave 2 possibility. Anywhere in here is danger. And the fact that this is so choppy on the way up is not a good sign. So bulls are really going to have to show that they can keep this active by pulling back in a 3-wave motion and then pushing up higher and getting through this danger zone eventually. But we'll take it one step at a time. I'm going to ignore that for now. I've gone over the macro in multiple videos in the past, so really just kind of want to buckle down and focus on the micro. But just keep in mind, on a macro scale, this is definitely danger zone, and the choppiness that we've seen is not a great sign for the bulls. All right, so going over the possibility that top is possibly in, or potentially we go up higher. Now, I'm leaning towards the top already being in, because if we zoom down into the micro, way down here on the 5-minute chart, this was an ABC for this. Obviously, it's gone into a more complex WXY pattern, but regardless, we have 5 waves down, right? If you look at this, it's a pretty clean 5-wave impulse down on the micro. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And all of the action that we've seen since then has been very choppy and very corrective looking. So I'm under the impression that we are likely going to see lower levels from here. We've likely seen the top. But just keep in mind, Bitcoin has kind of ignored these setups before, and that's why you have invalidation, right? So above 37,720, give or take, kind of invalidates that immediate bear setup and opens up the door to potentially pushing higher. So there's my if this, then that scenario for you. If below 37,720, expect lower still. If above 37,720, look for low 40Ks next, right? And that's kind of the best that we can do right now, right? So, you know, with that in mind, I'm short because it's good risk reward, right? My stop out point is here. My reward is way down in like the 33s probably. I'll show you why when I zoom back out. And so, you know, it makes sense to short right here, in my opinion. And this is made, as I said, a larger WXY pattern, so we'll just label that. And let's just make that a little bit smaller. Something like that on the sub-micro scale. Okay. So yeah, based on the micro, expecting that we have probably seen the top already. All right, if that's the case, if we've already seen the top, then we should be looking for a pullback into this green box. And let me show you how I derive that green box from the bottom down here to the top right there. This green box, it must have gotten moved actually, because it should be more like this. And that actually lines up well, potentially with this yellow diagonal here for the larger diagonal channel. It doesn't have to hit that, but it's a possibility it hits that. So there's our 5 waves up in A. We would need a 3-wave move down for B, somewhere between 28,870 and 32.5 is the ideal location for that pullback to go, and it has to do 3 waves. So what we're going to be looking for, let me make this a little smaller and kind of get it out of my way. What we're going to be looking for is, let's see if we've already hit the top of our Y wave there, which I think we probably have. This projects us down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to about 33. And so I'm going to propose that is very likely the A wave of the B wave, because this B wave should have an ABC within it. Okay, so that is likely going to be right there, about 33K for A. We'll get a bounce in B, and then we'll get a final drop down for C within this larger B wave. And that probably gets us down, you know, it depends on how high this B goes and how deep this A goes and all that sort of stuff, but probably gets us down like right into the middle of this range. You know, right around low 30K, maybe 31K, somewhere in that area looks likely. But it is possible it extends even as far down as 28,870, as I said. Okay, so that is the bullish interpretation of this. Bearish interpretation would be if this does, instead of being an A, it's a first wave, we get a second wave. So basically, instead of this stopping around here, it continues to crash down and breaks through this level, breaks down below 28,870. Then we're going to be in the scenario where we're going to expect a 5-wave move down, and then we're going to look for further downside from there, basically. Okay, so another if this, then that for you. If below, I'm going to just go ahead and say 28,870. It's got to be on a sustained basis. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean like a spike down and then a recovery is not going to break this necessarily, but it does need to be, you know, generally above that area, unless this A extended. If this A extended really low and then we got a B and extended down here, like that would be okay. That's still 3 waves, but basically if this third wave gets too large, that's when we're going to be in danger, right? All right, so if we can do that though, if we can come back down here and hold this area, then we can expect at a minimum a move up. Even if we're in the bearish scenario, we can expect a minimum move up probably close to 50. And so that's going to be a nice little scalp, even if this doesn't turn into a sustained bull market. Scalping or swinging 30K to 50K is a pretty good move. And so that's what I am on the lookout for, basically, is for this, if we see a three-wave move to develop, that's a pretty decent long area there. And we can look for closer to 50 on the upside after that. And again, that all relies on us staying below 37,720 in the short run here to kind of see that play out. All right, real quick, final scenario as a possibility, because Bitcoin likes to be kind of a dick. This doesn't really look like a five-wave move up to me. It looks like an ABC. Therefore, this could potentially be a extension of this wave 4. We could be doing A, B, C, all within that wave 4, and then push higher. That's something we gotta kind of keep an eye on as well. So lots of possibilities, but I think we have some pretty key levels here to really keep an eye on. I think the risk reward definitely is in favor of shorting at this point in time. And then the risk reward probably shifts into longing area once we get back into the low 30Ks. But as I said, we'll kind of wait and see how it develops, and we'll go from there. All right, I think that's all I have for you tonight. I will talk to you potentially Monday, assuming we have some resolution to any of these questions at that time. If we have some progress along any of these paths, I'll do an update then. All right, talk to you then.